There are things God hates worse than divorce. He hates abuse worse than he hates divorce. He hates infidelity worse than he hates divorce. It was so freeing to me.
We didn't go to church a lot on occasion, but knowing you went to church all the time, and that was all a part of your upbringing. So with that, I'm assuming that everything was great and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, everyone's life is great and perfect, isn't it?
Yes.
So yes, I grew up in a family where we went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. Are there any people in this room that remember when it was unscriptural to not go to church on Sunday night and Wednesday night? Okay, that was us. If the doors were open for any other purpose, we were also there. But I'll tell you, it was a requirement. I don't know how to say that any other way than that's kind of what it felt like. You kind of had to go. My parents ended up getting a divorce, and when I was about 12 years old, my mom moved myself and my younger brother to a smaller town, strong church presence in that town, and there was a anonymous person, I still don't know who it is, who paid for me to go to a church school, a private church school, which was really it was a sweet school. So now, in addition to all the church stuff, I didn't mention Bible class on Sunday morning, y'all. Also Bible class. I do want credit for Bible class. Okay, so we then added Bible class every day at school, chapel every day at school. Probably very few of you have ever heard of a Bible Bowl competition, but I was also very strong in the Bible Bowl competition. You're welcome. So I had a lot of Bible. I had a lot of teaching. And here's what I picked up from all that teaching is the group I was with, that church I was with, we had it right. We knew what we were doing, but nobody else did. If you had a different label on your door of the church you were going in, you weren't going to be in heaven with us. But that's sorry about you. Please come join us, Also, you definitely needed to get baptized, but as soon as you were baptized, you better start following all the rules really great. Because, see, if you got baptized, that would wash away all your sins, but then you got to be perfect from then on out, pretty much. So then, I am a teenager. I'm about 17 years old, and I get a boyfriend. I don't know if you know, but when you're 18 years old, temptation is real. And long story short, we got married to make it all legal. Unfortunately, he did not love the idea of one man, one woman for the rest of your life. So after multiple affairs, he left. So now here I am. I've grown up in a town where my mom was divorced. And because rules were so important in that town, and at that time, it's a generational thing that I'm talking about right here, but there are certain of you that will remember when divorce it almost felt like the unpardonable sin. Like it was, like you were written off in many ways if you were divorced. So I was rejected by a lot of people. My mom wasn't treated that great by a lot of people. And so now I'm divorced. So what does that mean for me? Additionally, I think I've done all the big things right. And look what I got. So I'm like, all right, God, you didn't live up to your end of the bargain. I'm turning my back on you. And so I proceeded to get pretty dang wild, y'all. It's awful. I was a train wreck. I looked for love and validation in every possible wrong way you could. I suffered a lot of pain and abuse. I was miserable. You said that about 5 times when you were up here. I was like, yep, relate. I was miserable too. So then I turned my back on that, and I said, all right, men, there aren't any good men left in the world. I'm not going to date anybody anymore, but I'm going to pour myself into my job, and work became my life.
So you found yourself in a place where you'd done it right. God fell through, turned your back on him. But did he necessarily turn his back on you?
He didn't. And y'all, I'll never get over the fact that he didn't stop pursuing me. I won't. So I traveled a lot for my job. And one of the things we would do is we would go to trade shows a lot. And I don't know if you've ever been to a trade show, but they're basically just an excuse for married men to act stupid. Also married women maybe, but that's not my part of the story. So I'm there, and there was a customer there And, when you go to trade shows, you're taking the customers out to dinner and you're doing all the things. Well, he attempted some inappropriate things with me. And even though I didn't encourage it, I didn't do anything wrong, and I stopped him. When I left there, I was covered in shame, literally covered in shame. And for weeks, I just felt just troubled. And I thought, man, I just started remembering like every bad thing I'd ever done. And I was just feeling the weight of it. And then one day during that time frame, I almost had a wreck. Like I came real close to a really bad wreck. And in that minute, I realized I was afraid to die. And I thought, this doesn't make any sense, right? I got baptized. I should be good. Well, so I didn't know what to do, and I thought, well, I should go talk to Bill. Well, who's Bill? Bill was a man. He would come to our office. He was up there fairly regularly, and here's what I knew about him. I knew he worked for a ministry called Search Ministries. I didn't know what he did, really, but I knew he had helped my boss through a lot of hard times in his life. And it was the same place David came to work, by the way, same place. Anyway, so I went and I talked to Bill. And I sat in that room, I'll never forget it, sat across the table, and I told Bill all the bad stuff. I mean, the big, bad stuff that I'd never told anybody in my life. Fully expecting him to just condemn me and say, well, you're no hope for you, right? And literally, there was no condemnation out of his mouth. But he also didn't act like it was no big deal. He didn't tell me, oh, you're fine. He goes, no, it's a big deal. He goes, but guess what? I've messed up really bad too. And he goes, so has everybody else. He said, imagine you were standing on the coast of California and you're next to Mother Teresa and Hitler. Interesting group, aren't we? But anyway. And he goes, the goal is to swim to Hawaii. And each of you, the distance that you get is going to be directly related to the amount of good things you've done in your life. So Hitler, he slips on the beach, hits his head on a rock, and dies right there. Doesn't even get in the water. He goes, I know you've done some good things. He goes, you get 5 miles, but you drown. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not shocked. Okay. He goes, Mother Teresa, that girl can swim. She went 100 miles. She drowned. I was like, what? And in that moment, I finally got it. Nobody's perfect. And nobody can live up to that. But then I'm going, what now, right? And he goes, here's the thing. God knows that. He knows you're not perfect. And he's just. So there's definitely a price to be paid for that. But the great news is he loves you so much, he sent a remedy. He rescued you. And so he went on to tell me another story to demonstrate that, because y'all, I can't hear it in plain talk. I'm not going to get that way. So he had to tell me another story. So he tells a story about a chief in a remote village where they had a strict rule against stealing. If you got caught, the judge, who was also the chief, said you would get 50 lashes with a whip. And I mean, it was severe. So one night late, an old woman got caught stealing. And they brought her before the chief, and the entire village gets out of bed to come watch. Because this is his mom. And they're like, what is he going to do? He's always given out the punishment. So he hears what happened. The witnesses stand up, say they caught her red-handed. And he goes, your punishment, 50 lashes. Nobody could believe it. They went and they tied her to a pole in the middle of the village. And the man with the whip brings back his arm to land that first blow. And y'all, she deserved it because she had done the crime. But a voice rang out from the chief and he said, stop. And he stripped off his shirt and he ran over to her and he wrapped his arms around her so that his back was facing the man with the whip. And he said, now you can start the punishment. And he took every lash for his mom. And he goes, that's what Jesus did for you. And I got it. I really got it for the first time. And the weight that lifted off of me in that room, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And I still don't believe that it can be true. Like, I know it is. And yet I'm like, really, God? Like, you're really going to forgive me for all that? So, he literally changed my life.
So you hear about grace in a way that you not just believe it, but you know it. And you said it changed your life. How did it change you? What did that look like?
Well, first of all, I figured I should get back in church. Good idea. And I found the hills. And I came in the room, and the first thing I noticed was the joy on the people's faces that were in this room. I'd never seen it before. When I grew up, church, it just wasn't joyful. Anyway, and then Rick, I heard such good, solid teaching from him. But one of the most powerful things for me personally and where I come from was that he said, there are things God hates worse than divorce. He hates abuse worse than he hates divorce. He hates infidelity worse than he hates divorce. It was so freeing to me. And while I had written off men, I went years and didn't even consider a man. And then you hear his story where God plucks him, puts him right in front of me at work, so I can't miss him, right? I can't miss him.
She was flirting with me at work, y'all, just so y'all know, okay?
Also, raise your hand if you believe that. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I met him, right? We celebrated our 23rd anniversary yesterday. Thank you. But when you think about where I come from, right? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, and also, I work for the same ministry that Bill works for now. It's amazing. We have a beautiful daughter. We have a good life. But I want you to know that I feel like me 1.5 a lot more than I feel like me 2.0 still. I struggle. I have doubts. I wrestle for my faith. There was a time I had a severe health crisis. Y'all, I was mad at God. I thought he was punishing me for what I'd done in the past, which cannot be true, by the way, because Jesus paid for it all and it's gone, so that doesn't make any sense, but I believed it. But he kept coming after me, and he wouldn't let me stay there. But you know what? Even in that moment when it was so hard for me and I was in that pit, I wasn't afraid to die. I knew he still had me. And here's the thing. I'm still a mess. It's a different kind of mess. I'm still a mess. I'm always going to be a mess because I'm flesh and blood. Thank God he knows it, right? But here's what I know. 100%. Because of what Jesus did for me. He forgave my sins, past, present, and future.
That's right.
They're all gone. They're all gone. And because I said yes to his gift of grace, I get to have that forgiveness. And the great thing is, it's free to everybody. No matter what you've done, he is there saying, I have this gift. There is freedom in me. You know what it's like to feel that weight of carrying the shame of what you've done. And he wants to take that from you.